And a very warm welcome to this edition of Business Africa. I'm your host, Afolake. The top stories this week. The United Nations, whose theme for the International Women's Day 2023 is Digital All Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality, is calling for action to reduce the digital gender divide. At the end of One Forest Summit in Gabon, the leaders unveiled their ambitions through the Libreville Plan. We have an overview of the key points. And as economies across the globe struggle with the disruption of the global supply chain, the commodity trading industry set an all-time record in 2022 for gross margin, surpassing $100 billion. Every year on March 8, International Women's Day is celebrated in many countries around the world. In the following report, we seek to explore or address a digital gender gap, safety concerns for women in the digital spaces, and tech innovations championed by and for women.
As the world celebrates International Women's Day, the focus inevitably drives to the question of women empowerment. The United Nations theme, Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality, reflects the fact that today more than ever, the world has gone digital and seeks to explore the impact of the digital gender gap on inequality for women and girls. According to UN estimates, women's lack of access to the online world will cause a $1.5 trillion loss to the gross domestic product of low and middle-income countries by 2025 if action isn't taken. Beyond digital, a McKinsey study shows that Africa stands to lose an estimated $316 billion in GDP by 2025 if African women do not have access to finance. Financial inclusion is therefore high on the agenda of African countries, and many are setting concrete targets for women's financial inclusion. FAWA, Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa, is one of the many initiatives to bridge the financing gap facing women on the continent. FAWA, in collaboration with the Buy From Women e-commerce platform, allows women farmers and members of women-led agricultural cooperatives in Côte d'Ivoire better access to local markets and therefore a better sale of their agricultural production at advantageous prices compared to other markets. The UN estimates that growing inequalities are becoming increasingly evident in the context of digital skills and access to technologies, with women being left behind as a result of this digital gender divide. The need for inclusion and transformative technology and digital education is therefore crucial for a sustainable future.
Esther Desano is the coordinator of FAWA, Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa. She joins us from Côte d'Ivoire for more on that report. Thanks for joining the show. Now, one of the goals of FAWA is to create an innovative approach to support female entrepreneurship. How is the Buy From Women platform helping to achieve this?
What we realize is that working with women cooperatives in certain countries, so in the case of Côte d'Ivoire, bringing them together, training them together, ensuring that they are registering their businesses enables them to access larger amounts of credit. But accessing credit alone is not enough. They also need, if you will, an avenue to basically sell the products that they have produced. And so together with UN Women, we created the Buy From Women platform. And that platform basically enables these women cooperatives to place these products and to be reached digitally by clients who are looking to purchase these different kinds of staple crops.
How can government create an enabling environment to help these women access finance and scale their businesses?
African governments can do a lot, actually, to accelerate financial inclusion for women-owned SMEs. The first is by having, of course, a very robust financial inclusion strategy, which encourages financial institutions to gender disaggregate their data. Data is key and is the starting point, because not only will it show how much financing is being accessed or not, what kind of financing is being accessed and by whom. because the financial products are also not, homogeneous across the board. We need to customize the kind of financial products and services we provide for women at the different levels of the business cycle. The other thing that governments can also do is address the collateral challenge that women SMEs face. Women don't have access to land or property titles in most parts of the continent. Therefore, coming up with alternative types of collateral mechanisms it will be really critical for women SMEs to be able to access financing and to access financing faster.
Now, how is AFAWA supporting in the upskilling of women entrepreneurs to help improve the digital skills?
I think as part of the capacity building that we provide via financial institutions or through our Women Entrepreneurship Enablers program, the digital aspects are basically taken into account and in a number of different ways, right? It's important to digitalize, for example, the business management, the financial management of a company or an enterprise. So the trainings basically, address the needs for women to be more digitally savvy. I think also through everything that has to do with branding and marketing, the utilization of social media has become part and parcel of, a growth strategy for an enterprise. So encouraging women-owned SMEs to be on social media, to show and be more visible using digital tools is also critical. At the level of financial institutions as well, as I said earlier, we encourage, digital financing to be taken into account, as well as to accompany women SMEs within their utilization of online financial products. So it's part and parcel, if you will, of how the initiative itself is delivered.
It's been delightful to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
For 2 days, more than 20 countries representing the world's major forest basins, members of the scientific community, local populations, and numerous business leaders met in Libreville, the Gabonese capital, to work towards the same goal: to preservation of the tropical forest, including the Congo Basin. France, Gabon, and other participants delivered their conclusions and outlined their project in the Libreville plan.
Merci.
As the French president's four-nation tour of Central African countries comes to an end, Emmanuel Macron's strategy in Africa is well outlined. Paris seeks to counter Chinese and Russian influence on the continent. French President Macron promised 50 million euros to a new global scheme to reward countries for protecting their forests and biodiversity. He also called for more concrete action on global climate commitments. The pledge was announced at the end of the two-day One Forest Summit in Gabon that aimed to assess the progress made since last year's COP27 climate conference and renew targets for the preservation and sustainable management of the world's forests. The host country of the summit, Gabon, with 88% of its territory covered, is a forerunner in the protection of its natural resources. Gabon has been committed to protect 1/3 of its natural areas, both land and sea, for 20 years. The funding from France is part of a joint €100 million commitment to kickstart a mechanism that aims to reward countries that are scientifically proven to have protected their forest or restored them. Some 50 business leaders gathered for the One Forest Business Forum, during which they launched the 10 by 30 initiative, which aims to create 10 million jobs in activities related to sustainable forest management by 2030.
Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Well, commodity traders hit a great deal of luck when the trade industry raked in a record profit of more than $115 billion last year as a result of fluctuating energy prices following the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
The combined gross margins of the various players in the commodity trading industry hit a record high of $115 billion in 2022, thanks to high price volatility following the war in Ukraine, consultant Oliver Wyman has revealed in a report. defined as net sales revenue minus the cost of goods sold. The gross margins of the various players in the sector have thus increased by about 60% compared to 2021. They have more than tripled compared to 2018 and doubled compared to $57 billion recorded in 2009 when the commodity trading market experienced a spectacular boom after the international financial crisis. The report points out that the dramatic rise in the revenues of various commodity trading firms over the past year is largely due to intense price volatility and dramatic changes in the global supply chains in a context of war in Ukraine. These companies, ready to take risk in a period of great upheaval, were able to take advantage of price volatility by buying low and selling high. Trading in liquefied natural gas also recorded an increase of 40% against increase of 50% for metals and minerals and 40% for agricultural raw materials.
And that's all we had for you this week on Business Africa. As always, share your feedback with us on the social media at Africanews. For more business stories and news, stay tuned to Africanews and Africanews.com.